Hi, I'm Neil, and welcome to the second in our ongoing series of spoiler minisodes on season 2 of our favourite show of the year so far, Apple TV's Severance. And this week I am joined by my fellow Severed colleagues David L, Marie S, Jose L, or as I'm calling them this week, Fetid Moppets, not Fat Muppets. Fetid Moppets, how are we doing this week?
I'm doing good. Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, you could be a little bit more energetic about it as well, about this episode. You're coming at it with a bit like,
Oh, we need to talk about Severance
gotta talk about
again.
Severance. Even though, like you said, it's the best show at the moment.
We haven't left since last week, David. We're still here.
Yeah, but
How are you not? Like Marie's joke about us being chained to the podcast, that we are here. This is all we do now. This is all I do. I work, I sleep, and I pod. And that's it.
I feel like this is like the worst time for me to be outside for one of our podcasts. Like I'm not an innie, I'm an outie.
Jose needs to be reintegrated. Get him. So, right, first thoughts on episode 2. It feels so much just like the second part of episode 1. Because when episode 1, it was basically we saw what happened to the innies directly afterwards. This episode, we see what happened at the conclusion of season 1 with the outers. And as we suspected, the first thing that comes up is everything Milkshake. I'm just going to keep calling him Milkshake by accident, aren't I? Everything Milkshake tells the MDR team was utter bullshit. So we know from very early on they're lying. The new credit sequence. Ooh.
Yes. It was funny because I immediately.
You skipped
so
it?
close.
I didn't realize it was new. I was just like, skip.
Oh,
the music's
it's
a
funny.
banger track anyway, David.
Exactly. It's such a good, the music in general is so good in Severance.
Teddy Shapiro, composer, brilliant man.
It's funny because I was close to skipping it, and as soon as I put my finger on the button, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. This already looks different. And then it freaked me out all over again. It was so weird.
It's weird.
Let's talk about that a little bit then. So we have balloons, we have goat men, and we have a man-faced baby that looks like something out of fucking Trainspotting crawling on the floor towards Mark.
His hand comes out of his own back of his head.
Yeah. I mean, the baby's kind of reminded me of the Colin Robinson baby from What We Do in the Shadows.
Somehow this was creepier.
I didn't even know it was possible. Yes, but I agree with you. I'm not really a big fan of babies in general, so was already creeped out. Sorry, David.
Babies,
yours is really cute.
You're right. Babies suck. Right.
I've been looking through the theories online for this episode, and apparently one of the shots in the opening sequence is a car crashed in a lake, which apparently is how Mark's wife Gemma died. They mention about a car crash in season 1, and to take it one step further, when we see Irv in episode 2, when he's outside on the phone, he's near an apartment. Sorry, he comes out of an apartment complex called Lenora Lake. Now, this could potentially be a reference to Edgar Allan Poe's story, Lenore, about a grieving husband who believes he'll meet his dead wife in the afterlife. So that cannot be...
You looked that up, by the way. That wasn't off the top of your head.
No. That is looked up. 100% cobbled from other places.
Here, I don't know if you guys watch the show with
we
subtitles,
do.
but I do. Yes, but did you notice that he said he contacted an innie, but he didn't specify who?
No, I think he said more along the lines, my innie got the message. Because Irv's been trying to reach his innie by painting the elevator all over and over again. He's also been staying up all night, so his innie is tired. So and trying to get him to access his subconscious. So Irv is definitely up to something. I think
this is your theory last time, wasn't it? That Irv is actually the
it's at the end of season 2, you could see that his outie is up to something. He has all this information on Lumen. He knows where everyone is. He had the map. That's how he found Bert.
And wasn't he ex-military as well?
His dad was.
His dad was, right. That's it.
I thought he was ex-military.
Do you think something negatively though for our main characters, for our innies, or in a positive way for our innies?
I'm not sure yet.
Not sure.
What was the question?
I think
negative or positive for our innies.
I think he's on the side of the innies. If he's trying to reach his innie. But also, there's the thing about the elevator, the elevator that goes down to the testing floor. His innie never saw it. So how did he know about it? So if in a way, the only way he would have known about it if he was an unsevered employee at Lumen and then became severed. because none of the
Yeah.
innies know about the elevator to the testing floor.
Because we don't know that much really compared to like Mark and Helena as we do about Dylan and Herb's like outy lives really. There's a podcast with Dan Erickson and Ben Stiller where the writer Dan Erickson literally says when he first got to LA, one of the first jobs he had was at a door factory, and he's like,
Yes.
you know, lovely people, no one wanted to be there, like doing that as their job.
Yeah.
So that's why
So
I put it
I
in.
thought that was a nice little touch of putting that in the script.
I was gonna say I didn't think it was that interesting. Like, what do you think we are, a carpet factory?
No, but we do get some interesting information in that conversation. Like, number one is that Lumen makes all his doors in-house, which is like actually quite interesting and weird that they just make everything in-house. There was also like another reference to Lumen where Helena was apologizing and she said I was on a non-Lumen medication. So it's just like also them saying like, oh, like, no, like all of our medication is good. The reason this happened was a non-Lumen medication, even though she was lying through her teeth in that moment. It was interesting. And then the other one, what struck me interesting is like, first of all, I think pocket doors are dope. They are clearly the best door. But
what is a pocket door?
What?
Yeah, I have no idea.
I don't know what a pocket door is.
Pocket doors, they disappear into the wall. They're brilliant.
Oh, like that. Those.
Yeah,
okay.
but that's also what. But that's that the way like Dylan G said it is like when you don't need it, it's tucked away.
Yeah,
and I thought
I get
that's an innie and outie analogy right there. Like
I
when
was
you don't
literally
need your
thinking about
innie.
a door that goes into your pocket.
No, it goes into your wall.
I didn't know. I had no idea.
They actually take up a lot of space because you have to build into the walls. But yeah, I love a good pocket door.
I'll tell you what threw me off in that scene as well is the guy who he's interviewing with, Stephen McKinley Henderson. Looks just like him. He's like the older version of him. And I was just like, that's got to have been done on purpose, right?
100%. They did that shot, like where they showed the both of them with the doors in the background. That's obviously intentional because they're both leaning back in the same way with their bellies like a little bit hanging onto the desk a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really interesting to see also in that conversation how being severed is a controversial thing in that universe.
Yeah.
It's not just, it's kind of weird. We don't know what's going on. It's like it's controversial. So I think that definitely laid some groundwork for the world. And again, going back to the whole like non-Lumen stuff and they build in-house, it really is building the idea that Lumen is a huge conglomerate.
In everything. Got their fingers in so many things.
Yes. So it kind of gives you a bigger concept of the stakes at hand for the company to kind of cover their asses. So I thought that was really interesting.
Now I want to jump into something that Marie brought up in the last episode we did, which is about the cold harbor theory, and it's back to the opening credits. So, because you said about pineapples are the fruit that can be cloned, was that right? That was
No, goats.
Goats can be cloned. I've got
goats. Like in real world, goats have been the only successful thing that has been cloned. I seriously don't know where they're getting at with the pineapples.
Sheep. Yeah,
sheep
Molly
as
the
well.
sheep.
Dolly
the sheep, or Molly the sheep. Yeah, was the first thing that was cloned.
Dolly,
the sheep
in Scotland, I think it was
definitely a sheep.
It's a sheep.
100% a sheep.
Well, then goats have been cloned as well, I think, because I read that goats have been cloned. Because I've been looking up what, to be honest, like I've been looking up what could goats mean and what could the pineapples mean, and like the only thing with pineapples is that it's a symbol for swingers. So I don't think that's what they're getting at.
Yeah, that doesn't feel like where they're going with this.
But it's only like symbol for swingers or also a symbol for hospitality, which either way doesn't really work. But like something like they've mentioned pineapples twice now. Like something is sus about the pineapples.
I wonder if all pineapples are like genetically the same or something. I'm gonna Google it.
You're so easily swayed, Mark. Oh, also, did you notice that they used his last name finally? Mark Scout?
Yeah.
And never mentioned it before. Not that I know of.
And again, we have to mention when we I was like, who's this creepy old guy? Oh wait, it's Helena's dad. Helena's dad, sorry.
Well, they showed that off in the last episode of the first season, didn't they?
We saw him, but we didn't get him coming out with one of the best insults of all time.
Just like, what does that mean? Because I have no reference to that.
Fetid
Is it just a
Moppet.
random saying?
But fetid means I think it's like foul smelling and unpleasant.
Oh.
And Moppet is like a small child. You'd refer to a small child as a Moppet.
I think it's also interesting that Apple actually tweeted the definition. They're
Yes.
like, there's no way they'll know this. We'll tweet out the definition like after the episode airs. Because I understood Fat Muppet at the first time. Like first it was Flibbity Gibbet and then Fat Muppet, and I'm like, okay, that's weird insult.
Never got those
I had the
at
subtitles on. I was like, it's definitely Fetid Moppet.
Yeah. And then they tweeted out the definition. So
what was cool then as well was seeing Milchek like out of the office in this episode. So you see him with. So like, is that the board? Do we reckon the board is Helena Drummond, who we haven't heard anything from yet, who was sitting at the end?
I don't think so. I think
because
she's
they get the call.
Most...
There's a bit where they're listening to Mark's call.
Yeah, but then they follow it up with the board is gonna give him what he wants. Right. That's not the board. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if she's on the board, but I wouldn't expect her to be the board.
No, she's not on the board because like Milkshake was just like the board is gonna give him what he wants, including Hallie R. So like she's not on the board.
I have to say, Milkshake is coming out to be my favorite villain. Like he's so good at being creepily happy.
So good.
Yeah, creepily happy.
Smiling menace.
It's so good at it. His voice is so soft, and when you hear the actor speak normally, you're like, "Oh man, he's doing a good job. He's doing a great job." And I like his motorcycle helmet.
That line, what is it? That is a magnificent helmet. I just cracked up at that line. That is not dropped there by purpose. That line.
Yeah.
But I also really did like David's theory from our last review, where David said it was a longer longer stretch of time because he was upset about the "Welcome Miss Cobell" sign, and now we find out it's just been 2 days. But that just shows how fragile his ego is.
Yeah.
Because it was a good theory from David, and I think he is annoyed, but it's just his ego is so fragile. Like,
but I think the thing with Milchek is he's such a believer of what they're doing. He's like so indoctrinated to it. Like there's a bit where like he's working for Helena, and when we see them in that conversation, when just before Cobell comes in, and he's like, "Let Kia guide your hand," and he's just so utterly buys it all. But I want to talk quickly about Patricia Arquette in that scene. Holy shit, her line delivery is terrifying. Like it's almost like you've picked everything she says. You could drop her in like Hereditary or any horror film, and that would be the most terrifying thing you would hear in the film, is whatever comes out of her mouth. I mean, what is it when she says an apology is warranted? You're like, okay, it sounds like you're demanding, not asking. And then also afterwards, when like Helly's just like, yeah, okay, yeah, fine, I apologize, and you're like, okay, I don't buy your apology. But then just the way she kind of calls bullshit on it, she says, "What's it? I welcome your contrition." And I was like, that's basically like telling you to go fuck yourself again, isn't it?
Yeah.
And like her promotion, it's like she's like, that's not really a promotion. It sounds like they're trying to get her out of the way.
Immediately knew.
No, she's such an interesting character because she has an ulterior motive. You just don't know what it is.
And according to Milchek, apparently it was lactation fraud as well.
No, Devin said that.
Devin said that. Sorry, yeah, lactation fraud.
I have to at least mention, this is gonna be a bit of a sidestep, but like the cinematography in this is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
Corridor shots, sweeping corridors.
Oh man, the sidewalk, like that whole. That, you know what though? It almost looks like CG, like the intro of the first episode. It almost looks like it's completely CG. And it makes you wonder, like, how much of it was like a drone, how much of it was on stage, or like green screen. But it was just so clean. And then when Milchek was on his motorcycle, you see people's faces, and his bike the headlight was moving, and you get like slow fades to other characters. I don't know if anyone else caught that.
Milchek deserves a pay rise, man. Like he had to go through all that shit downstairs on the day, and then at night he has to go out and basically.
He got a promotion.
Everything.
I'm assuming it came with a pay rise.
I know, but I mean, like he's done a full day's work on the 7th floor, and now all night he's got to go and he's basically got to go and fire everyone. Yeah. He's got to go and fire her. He's got to go and fire.
Why do they keep Mark?
Well that's the question.
Mark is Mr. Important.
The Cold Harbor.
Cold Harbor.
He's the only one that's important to Cold Harbor, which is interesting. Like because the others
I completely missed Cold Harbor then. I don't know what Cold Harbor is.
At the end of the first episode, Jose, there's a flash on a screen, and it says Cold Harbor, and there's a picture of Miss Casey, and there's all these numbers and dials at the bottom.
I think it's a live video. To be
honest, it'd be video.
I completely missed that then.
A lot of and the numbers are clearly vitals. The numbers are vitals and emotions. Like if you look at them, so like like my theory stands that they're somehow rewriting people's personalities, and in order for it to work, the person rewriting the personality needs to have an emotional connection to the person, and that's why Mark is vital. That is my theory, because everyone else is dispensable, but Mark needs to be there, and the fact that the numbers trigger some sort of emotional response, because you've got scary numbers, you've got happy numbers, like that should link to it as well. Like there is something to do with emotion going on there.
What was really interesting for me in this episode was Helena's reaction to seeing the kiss between her and well, Helly and Mark. And I saw a great I forget where it was online, but someone mentioned, he goes, the irony is that she's so buttoned down and businesslike as Helena, and the irony being Helly, who is severed and trapped there for all time, is actually freer than she is, running working for her dad's company. But yeah, I just love the idea that they're pushing so far that it is Helena down there at the minute, and she's doing it. But what if she actually starts wishing she was Helly? I think they're hinting at that.
I think that goes into what I was about to say. Is I think Marie's theory. I think you said this last time. I think she's faking it, and she's actually the real Helena now. Like, they didn't. I think that she's pretending to be Helly. Especially
but we
now
knew that. That's what we said. We all thought it was Helena.
Well, we don't know for
Helena.
sure.
Yeah,
but...
we don't
know. But I feel like that's a great theory to propose. That I think the way that I was watching for it, and I was waiting to see what would happen when they went down the elevators, but I didn't really see anything.
She
to
put her
prove
pass
that.
in properly, like everybody else did, opened up the elevator, but then that was kind of it. They stopped it, didn't they? They cut it at that point. So they've kept it ambiguous, but sort of.
Yeah, I really like that this is a possibility and that they're kind of holding on to it for a little while.
One thing we haven't mentioned yet, why is Bert outside watching Irv?
Well, we don't know what happened after he knocked on the door. Because if someone's knocking on your door like a maniac, I mean, you probably will answer it. But we haven't seen like what happened after the OTC was non-triggered.
It seemed like he was just curious at the very least.
Yeah, I mean, Christopher Walken just has a menacing face, so maybe
it's how that was lit as well.
It's how it was lit as well.
Immediately, I was like, "Is Bert evil? Is Bert a plant?"
I really hope not, because
if anything, I think Irv, with all these theories, I think Irv is investigating being a Severance, a severed person. I think he with the painting and everything, with the military background.
Yeah, it would be cool if there was something like where like Irv is like one of the main guys trying to take down Severance, and then we just don't know that, and he doesn't know that.
Yeah,
but of course, how's the best way to do it? Go and get severed and go in there. Yeah,
because who is he working with? Like he made a phone call. He's probably working with the doctor from season 1 because she's the one who reintegrated Petey. So because like she's the only one we know that's fighting against Severance. This might be a bigger web. There might be a bigger conspiracy going on.
Sorry, guys. I want to step back a bit to when Helly was watching her CCTV footage.
Yeah.
Why is all the media technology like late 90s?
I was thinking that.
Externals, like, you know, because this isn't even for the outies. It's like all media stuff is really old. And the cars are really old as well. But...
yeah, because it is an alternative timeline. Like, it like obviously this is like an alternate timeline to ours.
We haven't seen enough of the real world to really know when
I was
where it's supposed to be set.
The exact same thing when I saw the TV. I was just like, oh, that's not HD.
Yeah.
I think a lot of this has definitely come from second season, where in the first season, they didn't show it as much. They obviously reference, like, to be honest, I think for me, it's like 60s/70s era for the US. But then like they have the flip phone from the 90s. But then like this second episode, you see that parking lot full of cars from the 60s again. And I really think that is a visually interesting era.
It's like, just if you look at the progression of technology, it's like something derailed that progression of technology, and like of course I think Lumen has like a big part to play. They practically own the town as well. I mean, it isn't the town called Kier or something like that?
It's
named
after Kier,
like their focus is on something else, where like basically that focus of technology is going. So but it is very interesting.
If a former employer at a company you didn't like working for turned up at your house with a fruit basket and offered you 20% to come back, would you say yes or no?
If that person's last name was, I'd shove that pineapple up their ass.
Okay, and I'm glad I asked that question. Next to the moving on to the very best line of the episode when Mark was talking about his when Milchek is talking to Mark and he comes out with that amazing line where he says, "You said you felt like you was choking on her ghost." I mean, what a line!
He's such a master manipulator. He's such a master manipulator. That is good because, like, not even like that was a good line as well. But like at the beginning of the episode, he was just like, "Oh, like your innie went into great lengths tonight. It would be really bad if you reward his courage with death, with non-existence." He says non-existence, and that's just like, oh, master manipulator. Like,
well, and then after the ghost line, he then says, "You know, your innie has found love." At Lumin.
Like it's like dance to me puppets. Like he knows exactly what those words, how it affects Mark. Like
when he said that he'd found love at Lumin, what was the next line there? Because he said something like you'll feel better because of it.
Yeah,
like something like that. Like exactly. So how would that work?
I think he was trying to say that if his innie was happy, his outie would become happy.
Like subconsciously,
right.
He was implying something like that. I think
like reflect back onto him. Like if you have a productive innie, you have a productive outie life in a way.
Which comes into like the whole, like
subconscious.
Yeah.
So I guess I'd probably want to mention this just randomly. It's like interesting when you have large corporations based on an era. I feel like the 50s and 60s is something common because one show that had this kind of similarity was Lost with Dharma. And like they had weird technology that was like obviously advanced, but based on the stylings of the 50s and 60s.
Retrofuturistic, yeah.
Retrofuturistic. And I feel like this is an interesting theme that you get with certain shows and movies where like they use that kind of look. Like I feel even
Fallout.
The other Fallout. Same thing, like it's retrofuturistic and really it lends itself to
the
being
other one,
very
Jose,
different.
Silo.
Yes, I feel like it's really fun to see that commonality in all these because like I think of the fact that all those eras, that era is such a stronghold because of like the Cold War.
We're not going to find out until we find out when the show is. I mean, we might never find out when the show's taking place.
I don't think. I to be honest, I don't want to.
Because it's not that kind of show.
Seeing
I don't think it matters.
And a day that just kind of ruins the illusion. Like I like when something just is timeless. Basically, it can exist whenever, wherever.
What I did also like was we saw the other Mark getting fired and like walking out.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
I'm going to sue the
3 days.
But I was just like, oh, are we not going to see them ever again now? Probably, and probably not.
We are.
Yeah, we probably will.
Yeah,
I am 100%. They wouldn't hire people of that caliber for like
they weren't
two cameos.
They weren't the best though, by the sounds of things. If you remember,
well, where did they come from? Because they said they came from a different
5X or something.
Yeah, it's a different department. And the reaction to them saying they were going to use these people was clearly like, do you really want to go down that route?
Yeah, especially 5X. It's like they kind of had like a.
Like something had gone on there. Like
exactly.
So it was almost like we're just assuming that our innies are the only innies that are doing like revolting or doing anything.
There could be more.
Really upset the apple cart.
I mean, we don't have an idea at all about the size of Lumin and how many severed floors. Is there just one severed floor at this one place? Is it? Well, it can't be because it's like a nationwide thing people are going on about.
And there's clearly space for growth in our own severed floor because we're seeing all the empty offices as they're walking around and stuff.
Exactly.
And like you said, like Marie mentioned, that this show this episode in particular makes us realize how important we all know now that Mark is to the overall plot of what's happening to the show. When we cut to Dylan going for the new job, that song was awesome. Or was it? It's a young man is nothing in the world these days, which again can tie in so well if you take it to mean, okay, well, are we going to go down the cloning path? And it's all about bringing back Kia, which I think is what the show might be about. Do we think?
I don't know. I think maybe a recent show that you and I watched might be influencing that thought process.
Oh shit! Yeah.
I'm not gonna spoil it for anyone because I really want everyone else to watch it.
And
but
I
still,
just saw a very specific episode of that. Actually, yeah.
So we might be like influenced because that's how it's like. It's not why cloning is on my brain. Like recently,
Perhaps they were fans of this. Perhaps they watched that other show that we were mentioning here.
You know, one thing they didn't cover was the little girl. They didn't show her at all and why
Where's
they brought
Miss
her
Swan
in.
gone?
So that's
yeah,
really
I mean,
interesting.
I'll probably
I
see
can't
her.
wait to find out about that.
Yeah, we'll see her in episode 3. I mean, they can't like. They're not going to give us all the answers right away.
No.
Like
They're going to piece it out bit by bit. I mean, as we kind of got to the end of this episode, we get Mark confronting Selvig, as she's now known. I love how they just put her two names together, Selvig.
During that scene, sorry, real quick, did anybody else have a green glitch
glitch?
Right as he's approaching her? Like
No.
as he sees her, he gets out of the car and he goes to get to her. Was there a green glitch on anyone else's stream or like anything?
I don't think so.
Because it was a sort of because I rewound it and it happened every time, and I was like, was that intentional or
I might have to look at it again
or not? Because
I have to say this is.
I mean, if no one, it was pretty obvious, so you'd have noticed it if it happened.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll watch it.
Must have just been something up with my stream. Yeah.
This will be Marie's 378th view of this episode in the last week.
I've only seen it twice, but I mean, I've watched one scene like 5 times because
What was that scene?
Okay, so what I was just really curious about what happened that moment where Mark S got kind of sort of fired. And I was just like, was he just in the elevator the whole time? Because like, if he leaves early, Mark Scott, his Audi would know something was up. So I just watched that scene where he goes in and out of the elevator when he starts.
He did leave early, right?
He did, because he enters the elevator at 9:04 and then exits at 9:15. And I was just like, well, did they keep him in there for 12 hours? Because they don't have a 24-hour clock. I checked that as well. But I don't think so, because the security guard just said, hello, Mr. Scott. He didn't say good night, Mr. Scott. But that's why. But then, like, isn't he suspicious of why he left work?
Maybe
15 minutes later after he entered? I don't know. I was obsessing about that scene.
His sister seemed more suspicious about everything than he did, to be fair, in this episode.
Devin, the absolute icon. Love her.
Yeah, she's like, no, you said she's alive. You weren't talking about the baby. You were talking about
your
wife.
Like,
no, I think and he was like, no, I don't think so. Coming back to Kobolbovik, I mean, when she says to, he goes, when she says to him, she goes, was a pineapple involved?
Yeah.
What's up with the
pineapples?
pineapples?
What's up with the pineapples? But also, she said like you were going to quit. So what is her agenda? Because she's loyal.
I think she's gone rogue now.
But then she's loyal to Lumen because she, like, in a way, she told them that they activated the OTC. But at the same time, she's encouraging him to quit. She also always put him and Miss Casey in the same room together to maybe try and trigger some sort of subconscious. Like, what's her ulterior motive? Because she's, like...
Yeah, on that triggering subconscious, sorry, she used to raid his bins for stuff like and use a candle in the and put stuff on the desk during their sessions.
Yes,
to try to do that exact thing.
Exactly.
Shit, I never spotted them.
Yeah,
I mean, she might just be crazy and obsessed.
I mean, that would be a lazy plot. Like that would be a lazy plot twist that she's just insane.
Do you feel like she's something like she's maybe like Kia's ex or something, and she's doesn't like the way that Helly's
I mean, I
dad
think
and
more
running
illegitimate child. I was
maybe
thinking
that. Yeah, because again, we got no idea of the time frames of when stuff happened. So I feel like she is definitely like a disciple of Kia, just like Milchick. But I think she, in turn, well, I think it's quite obvious. She disagrees with the way that the Egans are running it, maybe. So you might have a bit of internal, like she's trying to fuck up their plans with Mark purposely.
Yeah, she definitely disagrees with Cold Harbor, like because she's definitely trying to fuck up that project for some reason.
And like you said, if she'd run over Mark in the street, boom, they absolutely would have fucked it.
That's good. She could have just reversed. I was watching
and not screamed like a complete psychopath.
There's quite a lot of space. She could have just reversed out of there. Like
Right. So coming to the end of the episode, there was actually, and I missed the first one. It does say, and stay tuned for a behind the scenes glimpse of this episode, and I actually did this time. They basically saying Lumin had to figure out what had leaked was their main goal. So that's why Milchek was sent out to like go to everyone, go to Irv, go to Zach, go to Dylan and find out what was going on. Also at this point, Mark's outie knows he's been lied to, but that's why it's weird that he doesn't want to do anything about it straight away. Like when his sister's like, no, they definitely said that, and he's kind of, I think perhaps the thought of he doesn't anything to do with his wife, the outie Mark just doesn't want to deal with it, which is why he got severed in the first place. So that anything that his sister's trying to bring up, or even Cobalt was trying to do, he just doesn't want to be involved with it. I also love the line that he says to her at the end, I ate your shitty fucking cookies.
Absolute diva.
Yes.
Loved it.
And this was something I think following on from what you said, Marisa. How does it work if you are severed, but then you are fired? So what, did you just go, do you get reintegrated back to normal? Because I thought they said in season 1, it's an irreversible procedure.
Yeah, you don't get reintegrated. No, you just stay like that. Because Cobell has been severed. Cobell's been severed.
Has she?
Yeah, in the OTC room, you see her name, but it says inactive.
Oh.
So,
wow. See, this is stuff that means I need to rewatch everything.
So many layers, man.
Good eye,
wow.
You've got a good eye for detail.
I'm a little bit obsessive, guys. I rewatch the same scenes over and over again. This kind of shows my personality. I mean, that's my theory. I mean, it hasn't been confirmed, but like her name was there and it said inactive.
That makes sense.
See, I'm still not 100% clear on what happens. So, like, if you are severed, but then you are fired, you're just the outie all the time, and the person who's fired they're dead. They cease to exist.
The innie dies.
Think about
it. You're just in like a room when the chip is turned on. It's just within the confines of that room or a floor or whatever.
What happened? I can't remember. What happened to the to Mark's old boss that quit? Or
he died.
Pity?
No, his friend. He was his best friend, Petey.
Yeah, Petey.
Yeah.
What happened
his
to Petey?
coworker?
He died.
He died.
How though?
Horrifically.
Lumen is determined to prove that reintegration does not exist. The person who reintegrated PD was the doctor, the one Mark went to see. I've only seen season 1, by the way. By the way, once, Neil. You've seen it recently, so the fact that you don't remember this.
Yeah, he died outside of a gas station. Like he was having trouble with his like visions. Like he would see himself in the bathroom and in the office. Like his brain couldn't wrap itself around what was going on.
Exactly, and the doctor says reintegration is successful, but PD just didn't follow her advice and didn't follow like the post-op procedure, and that's why that happened to him. There's like a theory that PD was reintegrated 2 weeks before Miss Cobell like actually noticed. Because if you look at the flashbacks, he references stuff like cubism, which his innie wouldn't have known about, but his outie would have.
Oh, wow.
And he was drawing the map as well. He got away with it at first, but then it all kind of just fell apart.
Okay, well, one little theory I saw floated online that I really like the idea of. Well, there's two actually. The one I briefly mentioned earlier is, I think the main irony is that Helena is like, she's got to do what her dad wants running the company. She's very cold. She's very mannered. And when she becomes Helly, as we're speculating, she's already seen from the video that she's played back a lot that Helly was totally into Mark. And so there's the thing that although Helly is trapped there and hates it and wants to escape like everyone else did, but that Helly is freer in a way. She can be with Mark if she wants down there. Whereas Helena is just stuck outside and can't do anything.
His thing is, I don't think Mark is that much of a factor. I think it's more of just Helly sees that, like Helena sees that Helly can do whatever she wants. She can act out, and that's who she is. I don't think the Mark romance is really that big of a deal. Otherwise, we would have seen a kiss right away.
No, you wouldn't, because you need to build to it.
Mate. Are you referring to why Helena wanted to go in there in the first place?
No, not really. No, I think she was supposed to go in
our theory that she's the outie and not the innie. Is that
she's
why?
Definitely the outie. But I feel like as it goes on, she might actually have feelings for Mark.
Enjoy it being inside.
Enjoy being Helly, as opposed to being Helena. Yeah.
If our theory of her being the outie is correct.
Yeah.
Because I read that her like rewatching the scene, the kiss over and over again. I kind of read it like her being out of luck in love, like not being able to keep a healthy relationship, and the fact that Helly managed to like find herself a man in like the span of like a couple of days, like that got her really like jealous. I think there's definitely again like some sort of emotional weight there.
I think they worked there for at least a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
again, we have
Helly.
Time is so hard to tell in this show.
Yeah.
I think I mean, Helly didn't have much to go off in there. And when you've got two protagonists that have compatible parts, they're always going to end up together at some point.
I mean, Erd's gay, Dylan's married, although he doesn't know that.
Yeah, that's to be honest the case with like anything. If you put two people who are like remotely compatible in like a room together, eventually, like
right. So my last theory, and that I read online, I really like the idea of this is: what if Milchek eventually joins them to try and take down Lumen? What if there's a twist with Milchek? What if he and Cobell? I know they're positioning that him and Cobell are like exact opposites. They was always kind of like butting heads and all that in there. But what if? I just feel like I don't know. There's so much charisma to the character now, and why are they presenting him in a light where we're like, oh, that's awesome? If they're not,
I think
maybe hinting at a character turn down the road.
I think Cobell kind of had a subtle affinity for Mark, which meant Steed almost kind of protected him. And I think Milchek is the pure villain. He has no affinity for anyone.
Kia
he's working everyone
with a weird baby face head or body goat thing is going to be the main villain. It's going to be like The Substance, but with goats and babies.
I don't think Milchek's a pure villain.
No,
I think he's complicated, but I don't think he's a pure
I think
villain.
He believes what he's doing is the right thing.
Yeah, but I think he will always be on Lumen's side. It's just like his ego is like way too fragile. Like it's just going back to Milkshake. One wild card theory I've been thinking about: is there more than one? Because he does a lot.
I was about to say,
if you think about like all the places he's been, like not only was he like before he became like the department head, he was looking after the severed floor. He was leading all the break room meetings, like all the break room tortures. He also like is the like hiring person for all the outies because all the outies know him and all the innies know him. So he's everywhere. He's just, I think it's a little bit too much, but at the same time, I'm just like, he's everywhere. That man has like massive stamina. Like
that's what I thought for the insight, and also like that's what I mentioned earlier. Like he did all that in the day during the office that he was dealing with, and then he went out and worked all night as well.
I mean, that's a very wild card theory, but at the same time, it's just like it always like bothered me in season 1. He's like, but he's there, but he's also there. Like he's everywhere at once. Like,
have we ever seen him with two different sort of personalities?
No, not really.
I mean, other than the two personalities that he obviously gives when he's
the only personality he gives is, as Irv said in season 1, smug motherfucker. Right, well, that's all the time we have on this week's episode of the We Needed Roads Severed section. You can find my LT Neil G at Needed Roads on Twitter, Neil G78 on Blue Sky, and Neil Gregory78 on Instagram. Marie S, where can people find your LT?
You can find my outie underneath the handle Life on Mars. That's going to be Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok.
David L, where can people find your outie?
My Audi can be found at We Needed Roads on Instagram and Long D at Blue Sky. And my innie knows my Audi's lying because he's seen.
And Jose L, where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Jose Lopez Photos, and my website is jlopezphotos.com. No weddings or photos of Jennifer Lopez there.
Well, team, I accept your contrition. It's goodbye from me, Neil G, David L, Marie S, and Jose L. And of course, the second we stop recording, we're back at the start of the episode.